This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasure to have with us on Make It Plain and Black Press USA, our young brother mayor. And I don't say that in a condescending way. We need some youth out here in these positions, because one of the groups that we miss somewhat and have been missing are the young people of his generation. He's a 37-year-old mayor, and I'm proud of that, of Cleveland, Ohio. And there's a lot of history when it comes to Cleveland and black mayors. Amen. It was Carl Stokes who really got us going with that era of black power mayors in the late 60s and early 70s. So Mayor Justin Bibb joins us now from Cleveland, and he is the new chair of the chair or president of the Democratic
President.
All right. President. So here's a president, a good president. We got a good president and the president of the Democratic Mayors Association. My brother, how are you? Welcome to Make It Plain.
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you. I have to ask you because it's big in the news and the conversation, and I'm sure you watched it. And you are, as president of Democratic Mayors, are now a part of the loyal opposition. Thank goodness. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump basically blamed the plane crash today on black people and DEI. I mean, how do you, and I watched the mayor of Wichita, who's handling it very well, and everybody's kind of singing one, from one song, one sheet of music. That's not the answer, but what's your reaction to that, and what's taking place in your city when it comes to issues like DEI?
Well, my heart goes to the family of all those who lost their lives yesterday in that plane crash. And when I saw the president's remarks today, I was appalled and disheartened at a time when we are supposed to be coming together as a nation to mourn the over 60 lives that we lost last night during that plane crash. We politicized that moment, unfortunately. And so now it's not the time for theater. Now is not the time for show. DEI had nothing to do with that plane crash, and it only serves as a distraction. And I'm so happy you brought up Carl B. Stokes, the first black mayor elected of a major American city. As the youngest black mayor in my city's history, I'm so proud to walk in his footsteps in this role. And so the work that I'm doing to lead a majority black city is very important. We've streamlined our processes to make it easier for black and brown businesses to start a business in our city. I was born in the southeast side of Cleveland, and we have a nearly $100 million investment initiative called the Southeast Side Promise, all focused on closing the racial wealth gap in the southeast side of my city. And so it is important that we as mayors, but especially as black mayors in this moment, double down on our commitment to helping our people achieve their version of the American dream in this country.
What about immigration? He's targeting cities. I may have missed it. I've not heard him single out Cleveland the way he has Chicago. But does he have plans for your city as well, Trump?
We've already seen ICE raids in Cleveland and across Northeast Ohio. Just yesterday, I had a jam-packed meeting at City Hall with activists, immigration attorneys, clergy, business owners, all scared. They're scared for the people they serve. They're scared for their parishioners. They're scared for their clients. And Cleveland, like so many cities in this country, Rev, we are a city that was built on the backbone and the stories of immigrants. And so we can't forget that history. And I refuse to let Cleveland be on the wrong side of history. Now, I agree, it's important that anybody in our communities that are committing heinous, violent crimes should be removed. I don't care if you're an undocumented immigrant or just
Right.
a resident of this country or of a given city. We want to hold anybody accountable when it comes to violent crime or heinous acts. But there's a way to do things in this country. We can have an immigration system that still reflects our values. And so my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues all across the country, we want to encourage the president and the Republican-led Congress to get to work. Let's fix the broken immigration system. We had a bill last year. It didn't fit the political moment for Donald Trump. And so guess what? Nothing happened during that last year's election. Now we have a real moment to fix the system in the right way. And we're just encouraging the president and this Republican-led Congress to get to work to fix our broken immigration system.
Well, now, but let's say, for example, let's say I were a criminal. I would say to you, Mayor, well, why hold me accountable when people who committed January 6th and actually killed folk, they're off?
And you know what? You are right. You are right. And the fact that we have somebody in the Oval Office who has allowed themselves to say it's okay to assault a cop is a travesty. And I'm a son of a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a shame that the families who lost a loved one who was protecting the chapel of democracy in our capital, it's a travesty to see those kind of pardons.
Yeah, it certainly is. How, and I want to get more into some other things you're doing in Cleveland, but I have to ask you this as well. How is your city affected, if at all, by the suspension of loans and grants to individuals that they say they have now rescinded, but that's not too clear?
The fact that there was even a signal of a freeze of funds coming from the federal government sent shockwaves across my city. It sent shockwaves to working moms who rely on food stamps. It sent shockwaves to veterans who are relying on Section 8 to be in their home. It sent shockwaves to small business owners relying on that capital from the SBA to keep their business afloat. These choices have real consequences on the ground. And we as mayors are going to be the ones to have to figure out how to address these issues. The fact that during that shutdown, you had 50 states across this country had their Medicaid portals frozen, right? And so if we really want to be about America first, this is sending the wrong signal that we aren't prioritizing the everyday working people that power this country.
Yeah.
And so obviously every president gets their ability to authorize funds, but it takes an act of Congress to authorize funds. And so you can't go back in time and reverse what Congress does without going back to Congress and writing a new law. And so I'm optimistic that we as Democratic mayors and Democrats all across the country are going to keep the fight alive. We need common sense in our Congress and common sense in the White House. And it's just a shame that we've gotten to this point in only the second week of a Trump presidency.
Do you have the coalition behind you in your city that supports you in all of these ideas? Is Cleveland unified?
Absolutely, Rev. Look, one of the best things I love about my job as a mayor, as the old saying goes, there's no Republican way to fix a pothole, no Democratic way to create a job. The people in my city want to see change and they want to see results, because when I'm at church or at the barbershop or the grocery store, they're not asking me what political party I am to pick up the trash. They want the trash picked up.
Right.
And so what Americans want now, especially at the local level, is confidence that government is going to continue to work for them despite what's happening in Washington. And so even in my conversations I had with members of my community just yesterday, talking about immigration and these ICE raids, I encouraged them to call the member of Congress and talk about these concerns. Talk about the fear and anxiety that's happening. I had principals crying out to my office, afraid of ICE raiding their classrooms.
Yeah.
Think about that. I had clergy leaders afraid that their places of worship would be raided. Hospital leaders scared about the same thing. We
Hmm.
have ethnic restaurants that have just shut down because of the uncertainty over the last couple of days. So this is going to have an impact on our economy. And folks aren't talking about that. This will have a real major impact on our economy. So if you think the price of eggs and produce is up now, wait till you see the ramifications of these dangerous policies.
Has the city joined any of these lawsuits that other cities are doing to try to fight some of this, including, because I didn't know you could just, didn't know we could just roll up in office and change amendments like 14th Amendment. I didn't get that.
I didn't know we were electing a king.
Yeah, right. So,
last November.
Yeah, but if you all joined in with anything,
we've been talking to law directors that represent major cities across the country.
Okay.
We have a really great alliance in Ohio called the Ohio Mayors Alliance. We've been talking to our law directors there. There are some great national organizations that are fighting around these issues, from NAACP to the Public Rights Project. And so I'm just encouraging activists and elected officials at every level of government to make sure we're using every tool in our arsenal to protect our democracy and protect and defend our cities.
So tell our audience more about what the Organization of Democratic Mayors is, and what is it going to do, especially now at this hour? Because, a lot of folks are saying we need some outspoken voices.
Yeah.
He's been clowning for a week and a half almost, or barely a week. And people are saying they want to hear more resistance and fight from Democratic elected officials.
Well, Rev, I was somewhat optimistic, but probably a little naive. And before President Trump was inaugurated, because, as a mayor, I'm going to work with anybody who can help me move my city forward. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, but I have a moral obligation as the mayor of my city to defend our values and defend the things that we believe in Cleveland. And so my Democratic colleagues all across the country, I represent over 500 mayors all across the country, current mayors and former mayors. And we're talking now about the importance of stating the facts when it comes to issues like immigration and leading with our values. We need to state the facts when it comes to public safety. Despite the rhetoric from the other side, Rev, cities across this country led by Democrats saw historic reductions in violent crime last year. In Cleveland alone, we saw a 26% reduction in homicides, right? And that's the same story for a lot of Democrat mayors.
How did that happen, Mayor? Tell us how that came about?
Well, number one, we invested in our police. Number two, we invested in out-of-school time programs and violence interrupter programs.
Okay.
And we had a thoughtful approach on how to better enhance trust between police and residents.
Yeah.
And so in areas where Democrats are successful and winning, we have to tell that story. And I don't think we did a good enough job in the election last year, but now we have a critical opportunity to state the facts, lead with our values, and not engage in this dichotomy that the president wants us to engage in, chaos or community, right?
Right.
We have to fight the chaos, but lead with our values and show how we're delivering for the American people.
And as much as he demonizes President Biden and wants to prosecute his family, we know that the Biden administration arranged for a lot of that money to go to violence interrupters.
Absolutely.
That you and I both know, Live Free and other organizations like that on the ground, because that makes a difference right there. And crime is down, but somehow the mainstream media still wants to keep alive Trump's dishonesty, that everybody's just out here killing everybody in all these cities. When you're right, it has gone down.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. And how did you come to this presidency? I mean, it's hard work to lead a big city like Cleveland. And again, I'm proud of you, brother. But some folks don't think being mayor is as glamorous as it used to be.
Yeah.
Y'all, because mayors got to do real stuff.
Yeah, every day.
This can kind of
Yeah.
look good.
Yeah.
But you got to fix potholes, y'all.
Yeah.
You
And
got to make sure folks got lunches and stuff to eat at school. I mean, that's not,
absolutely.
you don't get a lot of credit. It's not a glamorous job. How did you come by this presidency of the Democratic mayor?
Well, Rev, I think it starts with the kind of campaign we tried to lead when I ran for mayor in 2021. It was my first time running for office. I saw what was happening in the country during COVID and my city's response to the pandemic. Then I saw the tragic murder on TV, like everybody in the country, after George Floyd was brutally murdered.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I realized that now was the time to bring bold, dynamic, visionary leadership to my city. And in that campaign, I did what I think we need to do now more than ever in this country. I listen. We don't have a democracy problem in this country right now. We have a listening problem in this country. And I think we need to listen to what the American people are telling us what they want in our country right now. So when I was knocking on doors and I wasn't barely registering in the polls, I heard that folks wanted a modern and responsive city hall. I heard that folks wanted a mayor who was going to fight to keep our city safe and get guns off the street. I heard they wanted a mayor that was going to work to get lead out of our homes and out of our water lines and to make sure there was good paying jobs. So they had money for a down payment to buy a home or money to start that business so they could close the racial wealth gap. And all those things I heard are the things that we've tried to deliver on in my first term in office. And that's the same thing my Democratic colleagues all across the country are doing as mayors, from big cities to mid-sized cities to small towns across this country. And so I believe my colleagues appointed me to this position because of our ability to build that coalition in Cleveland. And for me, I'm just a vehicle for all the great Democratic leaders we have all across this country that are fighting for these values every single day.
Other great things you're doing in Cleveland. Tell us about, is it called the Southeast Side Promise?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that, man.
Well, as I said in my opening remarks, for a long time, that part of my city was not getting its fair share of investment. When I was growing up in the early 1990s, despite the fact that it was still at the height of the crack epidemic in Cleveland, it was still considered a beacon of the Black middle class. It's important that we get back to that. And so with this investment, we're putting millions of dollars to take vacant lots and turn them into shovel-ready sites for new homes, new companies, new retail shops. We're working with our seniors to make sure they can age in place by giving them home repair grants or down payment assistance funding. And as you know, Reverend, your main streets determine your side streets. And so we're investing in small and medium-sized businesses in our main street commercial corridors in the Southeast side to really turn the economy around in that part of the city. And so I'm really excited about the work we've done around the Southeast Side Promise to really get our economy, especially in communities of color, back going again coming out of the pandemic.
No, that's all of that is very, very important. Lord knows we need that reinvestment. And ultimately that leads to more jobs, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It leads to jobs. And that also begets lower crime. People commit crimes because they don't have any money.
Yep.
Although, let me ask you about this, Mayor. Now, as I said, I live in New York. We're seeing here, and I wonder if this is the case in Cleveland, that it's not a bad thing because it's something that also goes neglected. That's mental health.
Yeah.
You got folks committing, and these are my words, mental health crimes, so to speak, not the kind of crimes where they get some benefit from it. Like I'm stealing your purse to get some money to go buy something, but mental health crimes where they're just randomly harming people. We know for years and for decades, that's not an issue especially in the Black community, we've fully gone all in on. Are you seeing that in Cleveland? Is Cleveland addressing the issues of mental health in a newer and a better way going into 2025 itself?
Absolutely, we have to.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things we saw coming out of the pandemic is this rise of isolation, this rise of loneliness in our country, not just with adults, but especially with young people. As you know, a couple of years ago, the Surgeon General put out a special report talking about this crisis in this country around youth mental health and youth isolation and loneliness. And so we did a couple of things. Number one, we put together an entire mental health task force, all focused on making sure we had the workforce in the behavioral mental health space to train and be a part of supporting young people in our city. The second thing that we've done is mental health issues have been a rising cause of our unsheltered population in Cleveland. And so we launched a program last year called A Home for Every Neighbor, where we put nearly $4 million of investment out there to house over 150 people that were living on our streets in tents. And in a few short months, we're going to be at a point where we're going to have zero functional homelessness in terms of our unsheltered population living in tents in our city. We've closed 20 encampments already.
Wow.
And what's important about this initiative is we learned that sometimes, and this is where the Republican Party has kicked our butts, sometimes government does get in the way. Did you know we have programs in our city where you had to prove you've been homeless for 6 months to a year to get a housing voucher? That doesn't make any sense.
No.
So here's what we did instead. We deployed a housing first approach where we get you in a home and then we couple that opportunity to be in a home with social and emotional supports, drug abuse counseling, alcohol abuse counseling, workforce training, resume development, you name it. All those skills, all those wraparound services are a key part of the equation. But let's get people in a house first. Give them some hope.
Yeah.
Give them some dignity. And that's what we're doing to really turn the tide around that in my city.
That's amazing. Lord knows how many cities could use that, including here in New York.
Yeah.
Are you impressing that upon other mayors and Democratic
Absolutely.
Mayors Association? As
Yes.
president, can you make other Democratic mayors do what you want them to do?
No, I can't. But
Okay.
we do have a really great community where we're sharing ideas. I mean, we had a great conversation just yesterday with about 100 mayors talking about how do we deal with immigration issues, talking about our response to the federal funding freeze. And so we are a dynamic body, all focused on how we can protect our cities, defend our cities, but still get results. Because at the end of the day, people want results.
Numbers question. Would it be false if I were to presume that a majority of the big city urban centers are governed by Democratic mayors?
That's correct.
Yeah. And that says a lot.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the diversity, even though we're not supposed to be talking about diversity no more. But diversity, y'all, isn't an idea. It's a real thing. Diversity is a noun. It's a fact. It's not an ideology.
That's right.
In these cities, there are diverse. That's what it means, a diverse population. So you can't just say we can't have diversity. Diversity is like saying you can't have clouds and rain. Diversity is a fact of life. The question is whether your policies are going to respect that. So I want you to understand what we're saying here.
Yeah.
We're talking about urban centers, and the majority of them have diverse populations. That's also the reflection of the Democratic Party. But when somebody comes on TV and says only white males need apply, that's all they're talking to. But the only other place people have to go is to our party.
Yeah.
That's
And Rev, we have to do a better job of making the business case of why diversity matters.
Yeah.
We're good on the values, right? We all know it's important from a value standpoint, but we got to make the business case. Over the next 10, 15, 20 plus years, we are going to be a majority minority country, right? And so in your corporate boardrooms, in your C-suites, in places of government at every level, if you don't have leadership that reflects your customer base, how do you expect us to be competitive?
Yeah. So I have to ask you this before we go. No, you're absolutely right. I agree with all that. And I have to ask you this before we go. You're a young brother, and that's encouraging and inspirational to all of us in many ways. But we know that a lot of our younger brothers have been targeted by the Musk and Zuckerberg algorithms to be disaffected, to be angry with the Democratic Party. I'm not voting for the sister. All that kind of stuff was going on. What are you seeing in Cleveland at the barbershops, and how are you able to appeal to some of the younger brothers who have been targeted for disinformation and have become somewhat disaffected?
I knew we had a problem when I was at a barbershop actually in the southeast side on Lee Road, and I was doing the rounds trying to get out to vote. And I had a young brother come up to me and said, "Why should I vote for Joe Biden when he ain't done nothing for me?" And I said, "Look, man, let me tell you something. Joe Biden has the receipts." He says, "What you mean?" I says, "Well, that street out there that we're repaving, I got that money from President Biden because he believed in cities like Cleveland. That school that didn't have Wi-Fi during the pandemic, well, now we have a citywide effort to close the digital divide because of that funding we got from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All the lead pipes we had in our schools across the city?" He says, "Yeah, Mayor, I know about them. We're removing all those lead water lines because Vice President Harris believes that our babies living in cities like Cleveland should be able to drink clean water." Now, is that good enough for you? He's like, "Mayor, I never thought about it like that." You see, that's what we have to do as a party. We got to connect the program and the policy to the people and do that over and over and over and over again.
And unfortunately, that is one. You mentioned making the business case.
Yeah.
We're not good at tooting our own horn and reporting regularly on those types of receipts. And literally week before the campaign, everybody in the administration was scrambling to get on here with me. Y'all, we a week out. I mean,
I should have been here last year.
Yeah, we did it. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally with receipts about what we've done for Black men. So we've been begging for this forever. And I mean, I'm not, crying over spilled milk, but historically, Obama wasn't always even the best at making the case. This is what I'm doing right here, right now for our people. So, Brother Mayor, whatever you can do to help spread that word, and whatever others can do. I think this is tremendous, folks, that we have this young brother with the Democratic Mayors Association. And again, mayors are closest to the ground, so they know what's up. Mayors can articulate what's really going on the ground with people every day. That includes us. So we got to talk to these mayors, back these mayors, get involved, stop being spectators, support mayors, and make suggestions. Absolutely. We all can govern and make a difference together. And obviously, this is a young brother who's open to these ideas. And look, we got to get the word out. So, brother, I'm here whenever you want to come on, even on short notice. Thanks, you want to bring some other mayors on with you?
Thanks, bro.
Brothers from my hometown in Washington, where he went to school. They went to AU. So this is a good brother. When are you up for re-election?
This year.
Wow, this year. Oh, yeah. Well, then let me make an endorsement. Make an endorsement right now, y'all. For my brother here in Cleveland. Y'all support this young man. In and out of Cleveland every now and then. Of course, with Reverend Cavaniss and others. Reverend Cavaniss and the church, they pocket down me the other day. I thought everything all right. Really? Yeah, it was funny. They said, "Man, I didn't mean to call you Mark. I just called you back." And so we got a chance to catch up.
I was at his church for MLK Day.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a lot of history. Trump said we can't. The memo went out to the federal government. He lied to our own April Ryan, or his press secretary did, said they weren't getting rid of Black History Month. We saw the memo. No Black History Month, no Martin Luther King Jr. Day, no Indigenous Day, no Jewish Holocaust Day. It ain't just us. So, folks, we've got to be loud. We've got to get into this. We cannot rest. Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass didn't have the luxury to say, "I'm tired. I can't take no more. I got to stop. I got to go to Jamaica." No, we got to get ourselves together and stay with this. and I know our young brother will. My brother, thank you for being here with us on Make It Plain. I'm always at your disposal. Let's stay in touch online and offline. Whatever support you need, whatever support these mayors need, however we can educate and organize and mobilize our people to win the House back, keep people like you in office, and vanquish this presence that we have.
Absolutely.
I'll just stop there. I'm not going to start preaching, but that's what we need to do. All right, my brother.
Amen, man. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, man. Talk soon,
Take care,
okay?
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care now. Folks, that's the mayor of Cleveland, Justin Bibb. And some of us are getting re-energized in this moment of foolishness. DEI caused a plane crash. Plane with mostly white people on the plane. And we don't know that the military folks who were flying the helicopter weren't white. Now, I've heard a lot of different things, including there was only one crew chief on that helicopter, and two crew chiefs can look out both sides of the aircraft and determine proximity to the plane. The conventional wisdom was when the tower asked if they saw the other plane, the American Airlines plane, and they did, they were looking at the wrong plane. And then they were just right up on the plane that was closest to them. And that may have been because I talked with Malcolm Nance, as you all remember from MSNBC, military guy. He said night vision goggles have a very limited scope in terms of peripheral vision. And then someone else said that when there's only one crew chief looking out of one side of a Black Hawk, then that's part of the problem. But just a tragic situation. But be clear, understand what he's doing, what Trump is doing for his benefit. Okay. Why you the president? Why do you see he knows that everybody is not going to give him a pass. Some people are going to ask, this happened under your watch. So what does he do immediately? Because he didn't kill a plane full of black folks. He's going to say that it was black people or women or anybody in the DEI category that caused this to happen. Well, you fired everybody. And there are already reports from the FAA. See, that's how big the government is. You can't control everything. There are already reports from the FAA. Those people are going to defend themselves, saying that tower at National, I don't say Reagan, that tower at National was understaffed. That's going to come out. The head of the FAA just had to resign under the demand of Elon Musk, whom we did not cast one single solitary vote for. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. And he's got the head of the FAA resigning. That could have been any one of us. I'm about to stop for a minute. What if your loved one was on that plane? Dead for what? That has never happened. You know how many military aircraft and civilian aircraft crisscrossed those airwaves in DC after all these 100 years? That has never happened. Think about that. What was going on last night? It can only be because of some shortage or something unusual in the coverage of that space and what's going on. It can only be that. It's never happened before. And you won't even wait as the president of the United States to hear what the NTSB is going to say. How can you care about those? They'll say nothing about the families. Don't care about the families. Families don't matter. Their loved ones being dead doesn't matter. Take flying seriously, y'all. Now, take it seriously. I hate to say it, but if this clown show continues, there are going to be more accidents and more dangers. We got to stop acting disconnected or acting like this is not what we are in some dangerous. It's bad enough that somebody's got a bunch of racists and Nazis, but to just have rank incompetence, that's what the incompetence is. It's not the DEI hires. So if you say generously, DEI has been in effect since 2020, and that's generous because we know DEI ain't done but so much anyway. Okay. So you mean to tell me in all the time DEI has been in existence, there have been no plane crashes? Now, as soon as you start attacking and getting rid of, then there are plane crashes. Make that make sense. Do the math on that. DEI caused plane crashes, even though DEI, before you got rid of it, under DEI, there were no plane crashes in America, military or civilian. Good to talk to a young brother. Let me go before I continue, because all I'm doing now is just continue to make myself upset, and probably you. Good to see young people stepping up like that. Good to see young people doing these kinds of things. Good to see young Democratic mayors, leader. Y'all, this is going to be something. This is going to be something. And we got to put aside all our differences. Black men, stop assimilating into incel culture. You are being targeted for that. To resent women and resent black women and be mad at women and have issues at women. That is incel culture. That's not our history. Stop it. Ain't no reason for no black man to be mad at no black women in general. None. Black families always had to sit together. We got to sit together again. We have to do it now. We cannot wait on that. This resentment. Man, no. People got mad at Obama for chastising black men, but I didn't. That's one of the things I agree with Obama, but I agree with him, keying it up with somebody who said he wasn't a citizen at a funeral. I didn't agree with that because that's confusing. This dude is your sworn enemy. He's made that clear. But black men, stop. If there's anything that makes you as a black man hate or have disdain for any other member of the black family, I don't care who it is, be it a woman, be it a gay man or a lesbian or trans even, anything that makes you have some type of hatred, or when it comes to class, whatever, for someone who looks like you, check it. Check the source. Check where it's coming from. Check whether it's original. Check it. Because that's by design. It's to divide and conquer us. You can't record no song, F Donald Trump, and then go shake hands with him at the inauguration and perform there, and then say, well, we didn't know he's not really a racist, when he's proven it. Today, he said that plane crash was because of black people. What more do you need to see to understand what this is? Huh? All right. Woosah. Love y'all. We'll do it again. Glad to be here on Make It Plain. Glad to be on Black Press USA. Pray for everyone. You all be safe. Be safe. Be safe. See, one of the things government is supposed to do is protect our safety. And that's very much in question now with Nutty Nut in the White House. Please be safe. Okay. Love you. We'll do it again. It has been made plain.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. As always, perform an act of kindness on behalf of an elder or young person. Write a letter to a sister or brother who just so happens to find her or himself incarcerated. Offer libations to the ancestors upon whose sturdy shoulders we all now stand. And above all, give thanks to the God of your understanding by whatever name you call her and him. All God asks of us is that we give each other love. Thanks for giving MIP love. And please remember to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.